At 3 in the morning, I couldn't sleep on the bed, so I lit a cigarette on the balcony and saw all the lights on the opposite building were off. Only the house in front of my house was lit. I could vaguely see a man and a woman standing opposite each other, and it seemed that they were quarreling, and I could hear some screams from time to time. Suddenly, that man picked up the woman and threw her off the balcony, accompanied by a terrible scream. The woman fell to the ground heavily, and I heard a scream, and I quickly leaned on the railing to look down. Suddenly, the woman was lying in the blood on the cement floor, and I looked to the other side again, and the man was also lying on the railing to look down, and when he raised his head, I was shocked. He found that I had seen his murder, and he would never let me go. But what I'm worried about now is not this, but something even more incredible. That man looked exactly like me, and I was shocked, panting, and the other man seemed to have noticed this, and he was looking at me in surprise. He shouted at me, but I couldn't hear what he was shouting, and I couldn't believe that there was someone who looked exactly like me. And he was a murderer, and I just fell to the ground. My wife, who was sleeping in the bedroom, heard the sound and ran out. She helped me and asked what happened. I told her what I saw just now, and she was shocked, and then she went to the balcony to see. I grabbed her tight and told her not to go out. That murderer must be staring at our room. Then I hid behind the curtain, trembling, and called the police. Not long after, the police arrived, but they didn't find the body of the woman who was thrown off the building. Not only that, when they came to search, there was still a man and a woman in the opposite house. I was fine. The police scolded me and then they stopped. How could this happen? I was stunned. My wife told me, "You've been under too much pressure lately because of the promotion exam. What you see may not be true. Maybe it's your imagination." I said firmly, "No way, I saw it with my own eyes. That man threw a woman off the balcony. I also saw the body downstairs and the skull was broken. And the sound of her falling to the ground, how could it be all my illusions?" My wife patiently told me, "You know I have a shallow sleep. A little movement will wake you up. There was really such a loud noise, how could I not hear it? Alright, don't think too much. Calm down and have a cup of water." After that, my wife gave me a cup of warm green tea. I've been drinking this tea a lot lately, because I was diagnosed with liver and kidney problems during the previous physical examination. As a nurse's wife, it is said that drinking this kind of tea helps to recover. Since then, the scene of that night, it's deeply imprinted in my mind. For a long time, I've been having the same nightmare. I dreamed of a face that looked exactly like me, the corpse of a woman with a broken skull. What was that man shouting at me? 7 years later, my liver and kidney problem, it's already very serious. I almost lost my normal function. Life was also severely disturbed. All of this, it all started 7 years ago when I witnessed that murder. I stood in front of the mirror looking at myself disappearing day by day. Suddenly, I found there's someone in the mirror, it's exactly the same as me, but the expression and the action are different. I'm not sure, is it an illusion or something else? I didn't even try to figure it out. Look at my daily depression. My wife is sad and heartbroken. She often cries secretly, but she didn't give up on me. She often took me to the hospital where she worked. I can't help but think if I die, leave my poor wife alone, I can't bear it. I can't bear her beautiful eyes, soft hair, gentle voice, and the tea she made for me every day. When I think of this, my heart hurts. With the deterioration of the disease, I can't work anymore. After losing my job, the burden of raising a family, it's on my wife. For that little bit of work overtime, she has to work overtime often. I feel sorry for my wife, but I can't help it. Most of the time of the day, I can only lie in bed. I can't do anything. One day, my wife hasn't come back yet. I'm starting to have severe abdominal pain again. I had to endure the pain and find the medicine, but I found out that I was running out of medicine at home. But I'm in pain now. I suddenly thought every time my wife gave me that tea, I'll feel better. So I went to the kitchen with my stomach full to find that tea. I used to be busy at work. Now I'm lying in bed all day. I haven't been in the kitchen much. I don't know how to put things in the kitchen. I've been looking around for a long time to find a bag of tea, and only this bag I quickly soaked a little, but I just took a sip. I ate a catty. This taste and the green tea my wife made for me, it's completely different. Isn't that it? I had to go back to the kitchen again. In all kinds of cabinets, a mess in the corner of a cabinet, I found a bottle of car antifreeze. I'm very strange. Why is the car antifreeze in the kitchen? And I've never seen this brand of antifreeze. This is not what I'm using in my car. This is when I suddenly thought a few days ago I went into the kitchen. I was pulled out by my wife in secret. I thought of my wife's strange behavior, plus the bottle in front of me, so deep antifreeze I can't help but get cold. I have a bad feeling. I shook my hands in the freshly brewed tea, a few drops of antifreeze. I took a bite. The taste as expected, it's the same as I usually drink. Has it been so long? This is what my wife has been drinking for me. This antifreeze, but it's a life-threatening thing. Before my wife came back, I went to another hospital for a checkup. The doctor was very surprised when he saw me. Explained my liver and kidney because of a long-term intake of a kind of antifreeze, something with a second lip, and seriously damaged. This component is very common in car antifreeze. The doctor went on to say because of have a long-term intake, many other organs in your body it's been destroyed. Even the central nervous system also seriously damaged and there's no way to recover. After hearing the doctor's diagnosis, I was scared. This is the past 7 years in the hospital where my wife worked, checked countless times, never got the result. I was confused. For the doctor, is it possible some hospitals or doctors can't check out this result? The doctor said firmly, your symptoms are so obvious. As long as you have a thorough checkup, any hospital can find out, I'm sure of this. It must be the wife in the hospital. The doctor who did the checkup for me conspiring to lie to me. I thought here my heart is heavy. That night my wife came back from work as usual, brought me a cup of green tea. I know what it is. Tell her I can drink, go take a shower first. Make sure she's in the changing room. I secretly poured that cup of green tea into the sink and then hide behind the door. I found my wife talking to someone on the phone. She said quietly, don't worry, at most 2 or 3 months she will die. I gave her bought high-dose death insurance. As long as she dies, we can live a good life. Thank you for waiting for me for so long. Baby, see you tomorrow. Let's talk about it now. My wife's words are like lightning. I was terrified to cover my mouth with my hands. I hurried back to the bedroom. Turns out that my body is getting weaker day by day. Until now I can only wait to die slowly. It's all my wife's means, and it's also the means of conspiring with others. She has been planning my death for a long time. She also bought me a high-dose insurance, waiting for me to die, take the compensation, have a good time with her lover. I lie in bed like a dead ash. I'm so angry that I'm going to kill myself. My wife has already taken a shower. As soon as she entered the bedroom, I quickly closed my eyes, pretending to sleep. I heard her, the sound of the cup on the table. It's like checking me. Did you drink that cup of tea? What a snake woman. After a while I heard her deep breathing. She should have fallen asleep. The person I love so much, it turned out to be a vicious person who wants to kill me. Lying next to her, I got goosebumps. I sat down depressed. What should I do? I can't just wait to die. Should I call the police immediately or collect evidence first? I thought about it. In the end, I chose the stupidest way. I decided to make a direct negotiation with her. Ask her face to face. At dawn, I woke her up from her sleep. I woke her up in my dream. I called her to the living room. Half asleep and half awake, my wife was confused. I was so angry and said, in this life I love you wholeheartedly, but why do you want me to die? This straightforward question made my wife panic. But she immediately said to me innocently, dear, what are you talking about? I said, I already know. You've been drinking tea for me all the time. Car prevention, isn't it just trying to kill me without evidence? She still has an innocent expression. She said she didn't know what I was talking about. I told her, don't pretend to be innocent. If I call the police now, let the police check your phone record. Guess what you'll find? For a moment she was like being stabbed in the back. No longer pretending, suddenly showed a strange and terrible expression. Say, you're really not a good husband. Used to work like a dog. I've been ignored by you for a long time. I don't want to be with you anymore. I said helplessly, then you can tell me if it doesn't work, we can divorce. There's no need to kill me. She said greedily, it's not that simple. After the divorce, how do I live on my salary? I need your compensation. Don't hate me, just take it as you for so long. Ignore my compensation anyway, you're going to die. At least the living should live well. You said yes. You said you love me wholeheartedly. That's when you die, give me some guarantee. It should be. What kind of crazy speech is this? Her words made me angrier. I grabbed her throat hard. She struggled with a slap on my face. This made me completely crazy. It's completely out of control. I hugged her, rushed to the balcony and threw it out. She screamed, fell down from the 11th floor, then a loud bang. I was shocked, lying on the railing, looked down. The wife has fallen to death. There's a wolf's den on the cement floor downstairs. I suddenly realized, how does this look like the scene I saw on the balcony 7 years ago? It's just that I turned from a witness to a murderer. After thinking about this, I look up and look across. Sure enough, on the same floor across the street, there's a man who looks exactly like me. Isn't that me 7 years ago? I tried my best to shout at him, but the sound couldn't get through at all. It disappeared in the air soon. I finally know, what did that man call me 7 years ago? He was shouting, your wife wants to hurt you. Don't believe him. Get out of here. I was taking a bath when I got a message on my phone. The murderer is on the run for a sexual assault case in Xiunqiu City. Please close the door and windows and don't go out. Someone knocked on the door at this time. Hello, the property management came to check the windows and doors. I shook my hand with my phone. There is no property management in our community. Hello, the property management came to check the windows and doors. After a while, someone stood behind the door and said, it's a pity that I'm still in the bathtub. I'm afraid it's inappropriate to go out at this time. I didn't reply and hurried to put on my clothes. When I was about to open the door, the news I just saw suddenly flashed in my mind. To be cautious, I lay in front of the cat's eyes and observed the situation in the corridor. The person outside the door was wearing a community security uniform. He was wearing a hat and a mask. He was holding a notebook and a pen in his hand. He was hiding his head. I don't know what was written on the notebook. I was hesitating whether to open the door. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside the cat's eyes. Did the light in the corridor go out? But if the light went out, it, then you should be able to see that the safety exit is just a line of green light. At this time, a faint breathing sound came through the door. The breathing sound penetrated my ears through the door. It was like a cat's claw and I was all hairy. My heart raced to my throat. I suddenly realized that it wasn't the light in the corridor that went out. It was the person outside the door who laid his whole face on the cat's eyes at my door. I can even imagine a man lying on my door. He opened his eyes and looked straight into the cat's eyes. At this time, my eyes were facing him. Our eyes met. I was shocked. I didn't even dare to blink. I didn't dare to act rashly. I covered my mouth and told myself not to scream, because I suddenly thought that our community owner has been having a bad time with the property management. The property management has been working for a long time. Why did you suddenly come to check the window today? I let people see for a while and listened to it for several minutes with my ears on the door. I saw that there was really no movement in my house, so I turned around to knock on the opposite door. Hello, the property management has come to check the window. His voice echoed between the empty stairs. I am 501. The opposite is 502. 502 lives with a man in his 30s, single and unmarried. I don't know what he does for a living. Maybe he's an IT entrepreneur, or maybe he's a game streamer. He's pretty homey. He rarely goes out. He looks a little shy. Maybe he's the same as me. Bad guy. Occasionally I meet him in the elevator. He basically hides his head and stands at the corner, but he's a good guy. Sometimes when he sees me playing computer games and garbage at the door, he'll take it with him. The property management knocked on the door a few times. Every now and then, a man in pajamas and messy hair opened the door. What did they say at the door? Then the property management was led into the door by the other guy. Bang. The door was closed. The building was quiet again. They don't seem to have anything wrong. Are they really from the property management? But why did the property management come to check so late? The more I think about it, the more strange it is. I took out my cell phone and opened the page to see if I missed any news. As a result, no one in the group spoke. I live in a new community. I live in the most reliable one. 1 floor, 2 households, a total of 6 floors. The location of the community is remote and the traffic is unchanged, so the occupancy rate is not high. I only live in 4 or 5 households in this unit. I didn't get any information about the property management. I was lucky to turn off my cell phone. At this time, someone called me a friend on the phone. The group member is 0502, the man opposite me. The friend's message is, "Hello, I'm the neighbor across from you. Is there a property inspection window on your house tonight?" The property management just entered his house, but his friend asked me, "What's the situation?" I was a little confused for a moment. I didn't pass his friend right away. I'm going to talk to my sister downstairs. The sister downstairs is a college student, because there was a little misunderstanding when I took the wrong express, so I have his WeChat friend. If the property comes to check, it should be from the bottom up, although it is not ruled out that it will go down from the roof. But I can also ask for insurance first. "Oh, I'm the neighbor upstairs. I'd like to ask if there's a property inspection window tonight." I'm holding my phone. I've been waiting for a long time. I didn't get a reply from the other side. It's almost 10 o'clock in the evening. He's not asleep, is he? 0502 didn't continue to send messages. At this time, I suddenly realized the property seems to have been in 0502 for a long time. Does the inspection window take more than 20 minutes? I've been standing by the door all the time. I didn't hear anyone coming out of 0502. I was lying in front of the cat's eyes again. The corridor outside the door is pitch black. Only the security signboard emits a shadow of green light. The pitch black corridor looks a little scary at this time. It's like a black hole that's going to suck me in. I quickly turned my eyes away. At this time, the mobile phone in the bag vibrated twice. The message was sent by my sister downstairs. She replied, "Yes, I just finished checking my house." I sighed in secret. It seems to be the news that was released today. There is a strange curse in our village. Every time a newborn is born, it must be a twin. And when you grow up to 18 years old as a mother, you have to choose to kill one of them so that the other one will grow up safely. So, on the day of my funeral, my mother and I showed a smile like a father. My sister and I are twins. We look very similar. Sometimes even our parents will be mistaken. Tomorrow is the weekend. Our whole family will go to the riverside for a picnic. The night before departure, I overheard my mother saying, "Let's kill my sister." My father grumbled for a long time. The terrible ghost from the bottom of the foot to the top of the head. I was shocked. My mother wanted to kill me. Why would my mother choose to sacrifice me? For so many years, I have studied hard. I am obedient and obedient. Everything is better than my sister. I have a good temper. The one who should be eliminated should be my sister. I hate her and I am afraid of her. The next morning, I tried to pretend nothing happened. Before departure, I said to my sister, let's play a game. My sister looked at me with a smile. What game? I said to her with a bad smile, let's play a game to exchange identities today. You are Sister Zhang Li, I am Sister Zhang Ping. Let's try when our parents can recognize us. The next day, my sister promised me happily. My plan was successful. Dinner time, my mother stood by the river, suddenly called my name Lili. I was nervous. My sister had obviously entered the role. She still remembered the game, naturally agreed, ran over. I knew my sister was going to die. Then I shouted, my mother, pushed her into the river without hesitation. She panicked and wanted to fight, but my mother pressed her head to death. Until a long time she finally had no movement. My mother pointed her waist in a hurry, and all this was told to my father and me by my father. I was afraid of my father's helplessness. I was afraid of my mother's cruelty, but I was also glad that my sister died for me. After my sister died, I became my sister. My mother called the police, said that my sister fell into the river. The police interrogated me. I also said so. On the funeral, the guests were a little sad. Only my mother and I stood in the corner with a strange smile. After the funeral, the guests were sent away. My mother did not shed a tear at night. My mother happily made a big table of dishes. She added vegetables to me, made me soup, laughed at me. I felt so happy. Fortunately, I survived. Sometimes I really want to know if my mother knew that it was not my sister who died, but my sister. What kind of expression would she have? At night, I was so happy that I couldn't sleep. Sitting on the bed, she hadn't finished reading the aviation science book. I was determined to go to the aviation university. Maybe it was me who read too deeply. Since I didn't find out when my father entered the room, I saw that she was scared. I reacted, feeling guilty. I picked up the book, quietly changed it into the romance novel next to it. The boss fell in love with me. In order to arouse suspicion, I laughed like my sister. Why does my sister like to read such a boring book? It's so boring. Even though I tried my best to cover it up, my father still looked at me with a different look. My sister never liked to study, let alone the aviation science. What she liked was all kinds of boring romance novels. My father's eyes told me she understood everything. I wanted to beg her, but she didn't say anything, turned around and left my room. I was afraid she would tell my mother about this. I didn't sleep all night. The next day, I opened the door quietly. My mother was busy in the kitchen. The table was full of hot breakfast. My father bowed his head to eat as if nothing happened yesterday. My mother happily twisted her head and said to me, Ting Ting, go wash your hands and eat. I was surprised to see my father bowing his head. He didn't tell my mother. Why didn't he say it? I was very confused, although I said it out loud, but the secret was found. Such a thing is like a bomb. It will explode at any time. After breakfast, my father sent me to school. On the way, my father kept silent. He didn't reveal my plan. I finally let go of my heart. My father, who had just got off the car and kept silent, finally opened his mouth. Be careful, be careful, be careful of what? Be careful of crossing the road, or be careful of leaking. What does he mean by this sentence? Is it a warning or a warning? I was worried all day. I didn't have time to study. When I got home, I looked at my mother. My mother said to me kindly, what's the matter, baby? Did you encounter something uncomfortable? Did you fail the exam again? It doesn't matter. I held a test paper with full marks in my hand. I secretly hid it behind my back. I didn't dare to take it out. I looked at my father. He still didn't tell me, but my heart was like powder. My mother saw my abnormality. The fog fell on my father's body. The next second, he secretly pulled me to the door. He made a sound to me. I have long discovered that he is not your father. This sentence made my brain blank. I looked at my mother. Isn't dad? Why not dad? I don't understand what my mother said. She held my shoulder and said to me, wait for me outside. Don't go in. I haven't reacted yet. What's the matter? My mother turned around and entered the house, locked me outside the door. The fear in my heart was getting worse. I stared at the door. It was scary inside. For a long time, I finally had the courage to carefully push the door. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. There was no figure of my father and mother. My sixth sense told me that there must be someone. When I pushed the door of the bathroom, I saw my mother with a rope on my father's neck. My father had no strength to struggle. When he saw me, he stretched out his hand and opened his eyes and asked me for help, and I was like his calm mother who drowned her sister with her own hands. There was no action. My first reaction told me that he was dead. My secret was gone. I didn't have to be afraid. Not long after my father died, I asked my mother, why did you kill him? My mother said he was not your father, but a twin uncle. He replaced your father's identity. He lived until now. I asked my mother, since my uncle was alive, why did you kill him? My mother's face was gloomy, cold. He was a descendant. He must die. He was not qualified to live in the world. I was shocked by my mother. If my secret was found by her, would it be the same? The day passed. I suddenly found a letter in my father's room. There were 3 simple words: be careful. I am a chicken. Be careful. What to be careful of? Be careful of my mother. I was cold. I suddenly found a pair of eyes through the door, staring at me.